Cancer, Cancer, Cancer by Peter Donald Rodgers, Australia, 21st of July 2013. Me 9 years ago, health conscious and suspecting problems, I told a doctor that I thought I had cancer in my abdomen, swelling too fast, so they had to sleep on my back. Unsympathetic and a fool from hell, he laughed at what I said, the funniest joke he had ever heard, and completely ridiculous. Obviously insane and nasty, that doctor called me obese, like a hippopotamus, and worse than that. Incompetent, ignorant of my intelligence, and a lunatic, he sent me to a dietitian, an expert about calories and losing weight. Modern when checking my fat level and sensible, the dietitian put me on his electrical impulse scales, a new thrill for me. Mysterious, a shock to the educated and radical, my fat level was much lower than expected for my height and weight, that led to higher predictions of obesity. Used to normality and not used to me, the dietitian could not understand why I was not obese. University educated about food, a professional and obsessive compulsive, he suggested a diet of mostly vegetables, the answer to most questions about fatness, and often low in calories. Wanting the best result and suspecting I was lazy, he also suggested long walks as calorie burners and liveners and useful for making fat people slender. Using mediocre mathematics and not knowing the truth, the dietitian told me that analysis revealed that I had inherited a pear-shaped body that looked like a giant pear. Oh no! Scared of being a fruit and wanting a better image, I boasted that I used to be a good athlete, a distance runner who even ran the marathon, a slender-bodied person and a VIP. Following his advice, eating baked beans too, and walking for 4 hours per day, I attempted to create the perfect body, the prettiest picture alive, and especially me. Determined, a stamina king and far too crazy, I lost a lot of weight, dropping off me every second, and more than 10 kilograms and much more. Totally exhausted by months of masochism and too fit, my body was skinny, except for my spherical abdomen. That abdomen part of my body, also stubborn part of my body, that anti-skinny part that defied logic. A buffhead, a mocker and a nutcase. That doctor laughed at my spherical abdomen that was the roundest joke in history, and an embarrassing mystery, what I consider to be cancerous. Sick of being his comedy act, sick of beans and walking, I stopped my visits to that doctor who repulsed me and made me feel angry. Alone in my body and mostly ignored, I suffered my enlarging abdomen, causing me to sleep on my back, sleep apnea and an umbilical hernia. Nauseous in my abdomen and crying when I tried, I could not bend over to paint pictures as an artist for profit. Some thinking I was Buddha, and some thinking I was an alcoholic. People often pointed at my spherical abdomen, far too obvious and a disaster for an ex-athlete. Here's a poem I wrote before I went into hospital. Healthy friends far away, lovers of verse. I'm sicker than a dog, even worse than a Dagwood dog, and more battered. Although, to me, my health always mattered. It's not just my diabetes, epilepsy, damaged heart, damaged lungs, and sanity. Those ailments seem far too much, but add influenza, an infection that's very bad. A low red blood count due to my liver, of abnormal enzymes scaring me to shiver. But basically this is me jaundiced more and rolling uncontrolled in pain on my floor. As I scribble this poetry I believe is divine for you to read and enjoy while sipping wine. I wrote that on the 18th of the 1st, 2013. Didn't know I was going to be hospitalised. Well, I must have suspected it. To a friend by email I wrote, while sick I've been doing the numerous Light 2 IQ test by Ivan Ivek and Theodosius Prusalis. I seem to be doing extremely well for a man suffering some weird hallucinations. I saw myself as a dragon going into my kettle. I cannot remember solving any of the problems, or some of the problems, but did subconsciously. An unlucky sucker, much more sick than I knew. I, for 9 years, suffered physical problem after physical problem, my umbilical hernia, diabetes, skin cancers, enzyme, and hormone peculiarities, excruciating pains of my belly and back, and undeserved obesity. One day, a sensible, logical man who actually cared about me, my new doctor, sent me to a radiologist to check effects of a prolonged virus. Alert and meticulous, inspecting the screen, the radiologist discovered something astonishing in my abdomen, and the secret irked me. 4 days later, stunned and doing his duty, breaking bad news, my new doctor told me the truth, that the secret was an enormous cancer in my abdomen, about the size of 2 lunchboxes, horrible and dangerous. Enthusiastic about healthy life and not wanting to die, I felt devastated, totally shocked, not believing the truth, and eager to live. I went to the emergency section of the local hospital. That was my best hope, my only hope. Erroneous, crazed by her tiredness, and trying to be sincere, the emergency doctor said that I was jaundiced and had chicken pox and pancreatic cancer. Very bad news. Feeling extremely sick and not wanting pancreatic cancer, I asked if I was about to die. Oh no, horrible. Proud of her honesty, and far too honest for me, the doctor stated that she did not like my prospects because I would only last a month if not urgently operated on. Sick and vulnerable, I cried like a baby. Considered to have a contagious disease, I was isolated in a hospital room to get the best treatment. Yellow-eyed, yellow-bodied, with red spots, I lay there struggling to recuperate from my diseases, whatever they were, if not impossible. My body was berserk. Oh why, oh why? So my hemoglobin level was only 85, far too low. So I was anemic and exhausted. Shoving needles into me, collecting my blood for blood tests, and checking my glucose levels, nurses helped me. Too sick, suffering pains throughout my body, and sick of agony I did not deserve. Radical, and not my beloved T-bone steak, the hospital food for me was nothing. A fluid diet, water with drops of onion juice in it, and whatever I did not want to eat. Defeated by diseases, dominated by nurses, and feeling yucky, I lay in bed to experience the drip containing necessary fluids and drugs. Having too many patients and shaking their heads, doctors did not tell me much that was too informative and depressing. Quick as a flash and intelligent, a doctor stated that my chicken pox was not chicken pox, but an allergic reaction to amoxicillin, a type of penicillin I was having for a virus. Ooh la la! And my diseases were not contagious chicken pox. After 10 days, suffering a blocked bile duct and my tumour, I was sent by limousine to a much larger hospital with appropriate equipment and much research into cancer. Eventually, very sick and especially too jaundiced, I was bedded in a ward where nurses could inject into me and pricked me due to my diabetes, and I was waiting for an endoscopy. Not having a contagious disease and friendly, I shared the room with 3 others lucky to be with me and definitely sick. Experiencing unpredictable illnesses with me, then gone. The patients were itinerants, leaving their beds for other patients and leaving me missing my new friends. Often less than 2 hours per night, with alarms calling staff. Sleep seemed impossible as I strived to block my ears and ignore calamities of other patients. Feeling lucky at last and completely unconscious, I underwent an endoscopy for insertion of a stent into my bile duct to open it for bile to flow into my stomach where it should go. Done by surgical experts with confidence, the procedure seemed to be a success as my faeces went brown as it should. Within a week, with the tumour pushing against the bile duct, the correct flow of bile ceased as the stent failed and I was unlucky. Determined to succeed and save me, endocrinologists inserted another stent. Suddenly extremely sick with infections and low hemoglobin level, I found myself in the intensive care unit, struggling to survive and terrified out of my mind, affected by infections and drugs and gone crazy. I hallucinated that my tumour grew larger than the whole intensive care unit as a weird, wild monster destroying the hospital. After 3 days, better than most, slightly sane, with medical approval, eager to go and yahooing due to escape, I was pushed out of the intensive care unit where I definitely did not want to be. Soon after, investigating my cancer and meticulous, a surgeon cut a lymph node out of my neck to allow experts to classify what type of lymphoma I was suffering. Finally, hurrah! After reading the results, a doctor told me that it was B-cell follicular lymphoma and it was non-Hodgkin. Ignorant of cancers and wishing it was benign, I asked if that was good news, meaning there would be no cancer soon due to, hey presto magic. Methodical and unimpressed, the doctor informed me that it was a middle-range cancer, not as fatal as some, but worse than others, and possible to recover from. A health fanatic, a fitness fanatic and a survivor, I felt flabbergasted, too close to death, sick of agony, and I wanted to see my grandchildren. Unborn so far, trying to help me feel confident and an expert about lymphomas, the doctor told me that my chemotherapy treatment was called R-CHOP. That was not T-bone or Y-bone, as I joked. Very informative while rattling off facts and figures. The doctor told me that there were many types of chemotherapies for many types of cancer, including 43 lymphomas. A poet too dyslexic and confronted by the impossible, I could not pronounce the names of the R-CHOP drugs because there were 5 of them with peculiar spellings, and one drug's name consisted of 16 letters to baffle me. Vulnerable, weak and cared for, I was firstly given the R-CHOP drugs when in hospital as an inpatient, feeling lucky and surrounded by temporary friends as we all strive to survive. Very important for me, my day started with a blood test to help doctors assess how my body was functioning and my resistance to diseases. Here's a poem. Internal cancer, toxic cancer. This escapist escapes your harm. Worst meat in town, ferocious dancer. Enemy of chemotherapy, you never charm, and are never wildly going to defeat me. Doctors and nurses know your style to help me fight savage brutality. That's why too many cry for a while. Internal cancer, shrink away and leave me alive to happily play. I wrote that on the 9th of the 3rd, 2013. My allergic reaction to amoxicillin was horrible. A nurse said, "Your allergy is clearly displayed in your file. You'll never suffer that agony again." Soon a doctor walked to my bed and said, "You have some sort of infection, so we are going to give you an antibiotic." Wary, I said, "Not amoxicillin." To me the doctor replied, "Why?" "How did you know?" I was allergic to it, eh? Eager to promote safety, a doctor discussed my blood test results with me as I did not comprehend what hemoglobin, platelets, WCC, white cell count and neutrophils were, because my double major was in mathematics. In liquid form, the drugs were given to me by drip, watched carefully by educated nurses, experts about chemotherapy. Not magicians and suffering the physical limitations of my body. The nurses found it difficult to put cannulas into the veins of my arms because the veins were very narrow, a genetic problem shared by my sisters. Obviously misinformed, everybody stated that I had yucky veins, not suitable for chemotherapy and far too narrow. So everybody annoyed me very vain about my veins. Eventually, much better than cannulas and tubing going to my heart, a PICC line was inserted into my left arm, my non-dominant arm, because I needed to use my right arm for carrying heavy loads of supermarket products home. Inclined to feel sick in my abdomen and sometimes inclined to vomit, I was given anti-nausea drugs to calm my body down. Not appropriate for me, an anti-nausea drug sedated me far too much, so I rapidly fell asleep time after time and could not communicate with nurses. Refusing to have that drug again, I was given a different anti-nausea drug that was in tablet form and better for my body that was fussy. Sometimes severe and affecting results, allergic reactions were a worry for nurses who needed to be observant. Eager to recover, following advice from friends, and no masochist, I learnt to tell nurses and doctors about my problems I was suffering, often more serious than I suspected and often easy to remedy. Knowing about R-CHOP, doctors said that my chemotherapy would last for 18 weeks, with chemicals given every 3 weeks by drip. And certainly enough for me at my age or any age. To promote effects by the R-CHOP chemicals, the steroid named prednisone was orally consumed in pill form for 5 days in every chemotherapy cycle and pepped up my happiness. 2 days after the prednisone was stopped during each cycle, I suffered a horrible depression for 2 days. Truly overall agony, so I had to stay away in the dark at home and abused people on my telephone as I was obnoxious. After the depression, escaping the steroid withdrawal problems and struggling, I became slightly happy, almost a normal person, and not so abusive as I met friends and foes face to face. Sick of being a hero, too aware of pain and trying to be honest, I admit that I suffered aching muscles, especially in my legs, horrible aches, continual aches, and probably due to my sedative. After about 10 days with hemoglobin, platelets, WCC and neutrophils low, I was at my worst, like a dysfunctional balloon about to burst, and then their levels increased to increase my resistance and help me feel better. Here's a poem called Hell, It's Hospital. Hell, it's hospital of injections, agony to escape infections, and phlebotomists every day for analysis of my blood gone astray. I'm sick of lying in bed on the drip, too captured in the medical grip, as doctors and nurses hear my curses about hating trips and morbid hearses, hoping to recover with fingers pricked often for blood glucose levels as my hair softens. And I go bald where too many go bald, and back to cancer's chemotherapy I'm called. Oh, life in emergency, gastroenterology, oncology, intensive care and haematology. Wrote that on the 19th of the 3rd, 2013. Although lying about feeling well, I never felt truly better because chemotherapy basically makes people feel nauseous. And when I watched a friend exercise at a gym, I vomited 4 times to show how I truly felt. Used for blood tests and drips of chemotherapy, the PIC line simplified the procedures but caused problems in real life because I could carry shopping with only my right arm, sometimes 15 kilograms of too much weight. A great invention and definitely what I needed. A shopping trolley lessened my supermarket and bus problems that exhausted me. One-armed and often deficient of hemoglobin, reluctant to go beyond their expertise, nurses and doctors did not advise me about what to eat. That was complicated for vegetarians, vegans, omnivores and carnivores. With chemicals affecting my taste buds and probably my brain, I underwent dietary compulsions and repulsions, as I would eat entirely beef rump roast for a week, or cashews and almonds for a week, or rice and vegetables for a week. Boosting my confidence, the doctor always stated that I was doing well, as I did not feel well and actually was doing better than most undergoing chemotherapy. Here's a poem. Let me impress you. Let me impress you with little words inherited from major languages of birds, definitely related to me, a weird pelican who loves the beach of every screech from fans, including you, with influenza inspired, unhealthily not like me with a heart afire, attracting hot females of cold winter, grasping my feathers like sharp splinters, dull where sneezes are too horribly true. As I love saltwater ripples of green and blue, is it possible to impress you with fast flash of lightning into your eyes, inspecting grey ash of ancient poetry, by modern brains stirred into chaos of relativity sung loudly by birds? I wrote that on the 24th of the 3rd, 2013. Sounds a bit crazy to me. Rainy night. Rainy night of rainy lights mathematics. I'm pondering harmony of destiny's genetics. Sweet coolness, loneliness and joy. No lobotomy. A real self. Huge elf. With word and reason for bigamy. Victorious breaths of oxygen, better than tomorrow. This great drop of reality, with not a drop of sorrow. 25th of the 3rd, the 13th. Happiness is difficult. Happiness is difficult in a world of bullshit. A laugh and a half as misfits count profits. A juicy lemon acidic in one's tongue thrilled into heaven with hell's bells of those skilled. Animalistic highs and lows too ballistic, like a missile hurtling along realistic. A Newton's apple on one's head, a pulsing heart, in a garden's colours and scents that sweetly start. Evolution every second, beyond Darwin's dream alive, in lovers' thighs eager and sensual to thrive, where criminals lurk with mudcake on faces, for brilliant poker winning with 5 aces, in a casino of good luck, good ducks as roasts, delicious, nutritious, and now worth a toast. 26th of the 3rd, 2013. Nervous and not writing lists, I often forgot to ask questions when I saw the doctors who rushed through my details about my blood test results, important indicators about my health. Deep between my necessary organs, My tumour lurked as a mystery inside my abdomen, bulging more than I wanted it to, and totally unseeable. After 9 weeks of chemotherapy, pleased to undergo analysis for results, I was given a CAT scan of my torso and neck to discover how my lymphoma was responding. Much better than I expected. The more than 100 neck lymph nodes with cancer in them were clear of cancer, absolutely gone. Hurrah from me! Receptive to chemotherapy and eager for magic, my abdominal tumour had been reduced to 40% of its maximum size to please doctors and please me. Very impressed by my results and thankful, I started my second 9 weeks of chemotherapy, possibly going to get rid of my 40% of my tumour now remaining. Full of aches and pains and refusing to function well, my body did not feel wonderful as the chemicals attacked everything. Suspecting my face might be peculiar and hoping for better, I looked at myself in the mirror and shook my head, all far too bald, with wisps of white hair and no eyebrows, and with no eyelashes. Ooh, where'd they go? In city buses. In city buses, with big engines throbbing loudly, I go route to route, up front, talking proudly to drivers, maniacs like me joking for life, all around to see, every funny husband and wife, with children waving to us or crying for sweets. As ha-ha drivers and I surge along our streets, picking up nutcases to travel places fast, for dental extractions or dinosaurs from the past, growling in a museum, so I love each smile, on buses shaking noisily beyond my mobile. Unless here on rushes of perfect rides, for me forgetting my cancer exists inside. So hello to all enjoying this nation, of buses rattling us to destinations. 27th of 3rd, 2013. Truly, buses were very important for me. They helped me forget. They really helped me forget my cancer a lot, and it was great. Eating salted peanuts. Eating salted peanuts, I should be asleep. But at 2 a.m. I remember not to weep about gambling all of my money away in poker machines that led me astray. So crunch, 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 delicious taste, soothe reality and increase my waist. As US TV discusses same-sex marriage, though this hetero hated the horse and carriage, with my bride King Kong who bored me crazy by mocking mathematics and calling me lazy. So peanuts are my medicine much better than my penicillin allergy, as I am a trendsetter, crunching peanuts alone and ignoring my cancer, thriving inside this world's greatest romancer. 28th of the 3rd, 2013. Happy Easter. Happy Easter to devour chocolates full of calories as you stuff your pets with today your day, you guzzle some beers and happily wear soft pink bunny ears. Surprising all, give Easter eggs to others and crack jokes about sisters and brothers. Laughing loudly as you hop up the aisle, generously give churchgoers your smile. If lightning dazzles, ignore bad weather, and for sweet love, tie your friends together. Whether human or rabbit, be yourself, too crazy and forget your lack of wealth. Wisely sing ridiculous melodies, high and low, to create life's comedies. 31st of the 3rd, 13. And I was trying to be happy. In my past, for many years, an extreme fitness freak, I tried to exercise by walking to lose weight and harmonise my mind. Suddenly undergoing hell, and sometimes my enemy, my body ached too much and was always too exhausted. Yeah, it was really exhausting. Often rolled up in bed and never wanting to expend energy. Whether I felt good, knowing what was great for me and my survival, they gave me more chemotherapy to modify my mood, and so chemicals swirled around inside my body more and more, striving to crack sick jokes. This chatterbox loved to chat with other cancer sufferers who impressed me very much as they struggled to ignore their serious problems. Glad to meet everybody, and lucky often, I met a woman who had suffered brain surgery when the hemispheres of her brain had been taken out for removal of a tumour and then put back in. Expert at everything, very vivacious, and enjoying chatting to a crowd, she gave me great advice about cooking because her brain was still very functional, surprisingly so, telling us his story about when suffering low resistance. One man said he made the mistake of going fishing, catching a large bream, getting spiked by the bream and catching a serious infection, so some of his fingers had to be removed. Oh hell. All too vulnerable, at the worst we had ever been, and oversensitive. Some of us wanted to vomit over carpets and out through windows. Expected for an hour or so and ready to give advice, the nurse called out my name to see the ulcer on my tongue, a painful, persistent ulcer. Repeating herself far too often, she told me to gargle lots of salty water, the best cure, and very cheap. Thinking I was a survivor and imagining that I had money, she did not know that I was overstressed by cancer and gambling far too much money on the pokies, all of my money, every last cent. Give me Brisbane, this city of my birth, Queensland's capital, a lovely place on earth, thriving well as I walk amongst pigeons and see spired cathedrals of religions. Each day I love our meandering river, giving summer sparkles or winter shivers. From my special venues in teeming crowds, enjoying life sometimes too loud. Honest and swift, police uphold our laws, for freedom and security most adore, while people joke and laugh educated, by study and media to feel elated. Many aspects of Brisbane seem wonderful, but I'm most impressed by our hospitals. 4th of the 4th, 13. I certainly love the hospital. Hello, it's a great day. Hello, it's a great day, about to become funny. I'm a comedian who cracks jokes easier to crack than coconuts. I hope you like my jokes meant to knock you out, unconscious like rocks. It's a great time to hear the joke about the rooster that thought it was a hen laying an egg scrambled with chili. The whole world needs jokes to destroy national economy to promote chaos and poverty, the rights of every citizen. I love to hear people laugh hideously like donkeys eaten by crocodiles. See that woman in the audience? My only fan who wants to roast me on the spit and needs a straitjacket fast? I'm going for my own safety, looking as handsome as Brad Pitt. Thanks for mocking my jokes. Too extremely funny for a bundle of aliens who should be extradited from Earth. Goodbye. Well, that was just a bit of fun on the 4th of the 4th. Very funny. Like Venetian money. Professor Sincerity, who enjoys the rarity of thank you hilarity. 4th of the 4th, 13. Hoping to forget savage cancer and being only human, we all rallied on bad habits, our best protection against severe depression. Pokies, racehorses, lotteries, knitting and reading. An alien for sure, looking like a joke. I felt lonely as I stumbled to home, not really my home, and I was always exhausted by the time I arrived home. Seeking the return of my own youthful health and vitality, I always looked in the mirror. That obviously distorted me, made me super zany, a freak. Nuts for a nutty man, My cherished foods, almonds and cashews, nourished me, chewing on them as I watched politics on TV for a few seconds. Like a bear in the winter, to hibernation, off to sleep I went, for better dreams and recovery. Stretched when my bag was put into it by nurses. My bladder did not function well, released urine at unexpected time, and embarrassed me often or woke me up too often during the night. Waking up every hour and far too often, I always needed more sleep to create jokes about nurses and doctors. Full of ridiculous programs and advertisements, television became very important for me as it captured my attention, so I escaped from cancer woes. Oh, bug-eyed me! More and more politics I watched, far too much to nullify my pains. Not vocally talented myself, but possessing ears, I preferred a TV singing contest that truly helped me escape cancer and politics. Every day, remembering my responsibility and very privileged, I swallowed 20 tablets or more that certainly affected me. Oh, drowsy me! Faster than walking and far less exertion, travelling in buses made life fun, as I was watching idiosyncratic people and joking with bus drivers. Full of foods, jams, pies and chorizos, supermarkets were much more exciting than my temporary home without people, and not much food due to gambling. Here, there and everywhere, trying to explain my absolute baldness like an elephant, I told everyone that I was undergoing chemotherapy. Too clever, they always replied, "I know." Where everybody knew somebody suffering some weird cancer, I did not feel very special as just another cancer nerd full of an enormous tumour probably coming out of my ears. Not fast enough, my inner secret, and quite wonderful, the real truth was that my cancer was vanishing, going due to chemicals, nurses and doctors, and needed to vanish more rapidly. Here's a poem, lethargic me, ready to ignite into action like a wild dynamite. I'm not explosive enough, kaboom, for mixed nuts and meat in breakfast gloom of my room, with television blaring, overseas massacres as I'm staring at my microwave using vibrations to modify foods prized in this nation, where I am too lethargic with 20 pills per day and plenty of chemotherapy to energise me as I strive to survive vitamin C of an orange, nutritious deep inside, mysterious me, so outside I stride. 7th of the 5th, 2013. Poets' fickle brains. Poets' fickle brains, sane or insane, from around the world without gain. Winners, of course, lovers too pedantic, lovers of words, grunts too multisyllabic. With plume or pen, by fingers or nose, write me a poem, wild not comatose, so crazy or clever, volcanic truths, stylistic with flash and flare of youth, but right where hawks prey upon doves, about rhyme and reason, of beauty and love. 14th of the 5th, 13. Comedies and tragedies, realities of my life's history. Ice cream sundaes on Mondays, chocolate cake faces on Tuesdays, unexpected deaths and coffins, and criminal impacts too often. Such facts seem fiction untrue, not ever to be believed by you. 14th of the 5th, 13. Society too much normality, rattlebrains needing personalities, shallow philosophies and attitudes, repetition of idiotic platitudes. Oh, society using slanderous lies, completely malicious to crucify, using mockery and violence wild to crack crumbling genius of a child, Yes, society persecutes each week lovely people perceived as freaks. 15th of the 5th, 13. Forget me party girls with eyes aglow. Because after highs and mostly lows of my pathetic relationship with that drunkard I could not worship, her too addicted, a bitch astray, to brain-numbing liquids every day, now wise, I never want more strife from an alcoholic in my life. 18th of the 5th of 13. Around this world of rice, chickpeas and cheeses, billions now believe in precious Jesus, prophet or saviour, their pathway to God, who loves humans all perfect or odd. But surprisingly, Boyan, not a crook, wrote a 600,000 word book about his intellectual rebirth, that Jesus never existed on earth. That's true. 19th of the 5th, 13. Stressed with the overstressed, an inspired chatterbox, I was delirious with false comedy, jokes too serious, and laughter for survival. Hoping for sympathy and striving to be honest, I told nurses that I was crying every day for a couple of minutes in the prolonged struggle against the insanity of death. Sick of nonsense and escaping to do work, nurses told me to tell the doctors or swallow sedatives, great for people like me. For sanity's sake, too obsessive-compulsive and truly terrified, I rang up everybody, every day, everybody on my long list. The unlucky ones, the ones chosen to listen too often. Very wise, helpful, positive and wanting to escape from me, a friend told me to go write a book about agony, my major topic during chemotherapy, and after meeting phlebotomists I called phlebotomist. Instead, a lover of good figures, a brain knowing secret methods, I started doing mathematics, beloved, complicated mathematics, true escape from my emotions and better than tumour phobias. Like others who did crosswords, needing harmonies some gained by knitting, I did IQ tests to assess my thinking that others said had gone berserk, and discovered that my brain still functioned. A great place for me to go, full of free computers, and funny people. The City Council Library loved me. There every day, keen to receive, read and type and send emails. A true enthusiast when not nauseous from chemicals. Sleep. I went to sleep to count sheep, but needed a secretary to do my thinking by using a computer that malfunctioned horribly. 31st of 5th, 2013. Fact or fiction? Fact or fiction, quite a laugh. I expected government staff to be honest about clients, but worse than absolute nonsense, my file consisted weirdly of horrible lies about me. 24th of the 6th, 13. That was not about the hospitals I was in. Not capable of understanding real people full of amazing stresses, psychiatrists needed me. A man too volcanic, an overstressed stressor, comprehending psychiatric problems of cancer, too often caused by my disease and therapy, ridiculous, lack of hemoglobin, always cause more lethargy, too much inability, not enough energy, and me sleeping in my darkened home. After 17 weeks, keen to know how my tumour was growing, far too keen, I underwent a CAT scan at the hospital, a great method for assessing the truth and giving a result to be considered by my doctors. Truly a nervous wreck, panicking and demanding faster service, I waited for 1 week before the main doctor told me the result that 80% of my abdominal tumour had gone and 20% of my tumour remained. So quite lucky. Disappointed, I asked if that was good or bad. The one who made decisions, the doctor, told me that they would not add 2 extra 3-week cycles of chemotherapy because such chemicals also damaged good cells in my body that needed to recover. After telling me my blood test results, he told me that I would have the antibody Mabthera and then soon probably undergo radiation treatment. Possibly a great method for annihilating the remaining 20%. Really pleasing me, the doctor said I could go home to my real home, far away, and too empty for 6 months while I was hospitalised and undergoing chemotherapy. After kindly mowing my lawn for far too long, never expecting 6 months, 2 neighbours were very glad to see me. The cancer man who was going to mow my own lawn in future with no neighbourly help. They decided that. Sick of cancer, that disease too awful. I came home from boring hospital to my home sweet home more spacious, as an art connoisseur too outrageous. An ex-artist with eyes to be aware, I saw my grandson scribble there. On paper, on my table exquisite, lines done with a black ink pen to fit. What's bold and beautiful and mostly bold? A scribble of a man big-bellied and old, with a cat until a phantom with a dog appeared in ever-changing images, a frog. Yes, by a true artist, my grandson who's 2, sharing his genetic ability anew. I scribbled just like my grandson scribbled, round and up and down, and scribbled to create weird and wonderful moons and suns, and to create faces, and to play for fun. 5th of July, 2013. Hallelujah wowee, thanks to Anya. So funny. Sounding comical philosophies better than money. Inspired with my mind on fire and feeling alive, I create this poem as ridiculous words arrive. Tickle and fickle, flash and dash, my words go around rotating earth from pygmy to Eskimo. Confused, crazily amused, and even the Queen, people try to comprehend whatever I really mean. That's the 5th of July, 13. Yippee! Opinions can be hilarious, so we weirdos laugh together delirious, ho ho ho, and state more opinions as croaks, louder and better than jokes. 7th of July, 13. Oh no, it's 20% of my tumour that remains. That is my 100% that is mostly insane. So put it in the psychiatric unit to croak, while the best of me grapples with jokes. 7th of July, 30. Oh no, one day too late, it's funny fate I bet. My grandchild has not been born quite yet. At Wimbledon, Djokovic or Murray will win before the babe comes in a hurry. Hurrah, I will be very happy and hoppy to proudly be a grandpappy named Poppy. Peter Rodgers during Wimbledon men's final 2013. On Saturday, trying to be generous, maybe even being slightly humorous, I took a large $50 carrot cake to a party, but nobody ate the cake because everybody was diabetic, and I didn't feel remotely sympathetic. Silly, I went home sweet home for bellyache by eating 20 large pieces of carrot cake. My grandchild could have helped the forlorn if my grandchild had rapidly been born. 8th of July, 13. More than a silly little rabbit, forgetting my carrot cake habit. I am a wild, roaring lion flying as Jolly Rodgers liking frying. Yummy, yummy, lamb chops with skill on my precious George Foreman grill. My grandchild is late for its birth to eat delicious lamb chops on earth. 9th of July, 13. Magic, magic, swirl. Magic, magic, swirl and twirl, whether straight or whether whirl, go to every boy and girl, eating mushroom sausages, so they can send messages by internet telepathy all around the world. Magic, magic, now unfurl, whether straight or whether curl, go to every gem and pearl, flashing flower histories, so they can send mysteries by internet with sympathy all around the world. I love that poem. 11th of July 13. A strong force. A strong force and existing before my birth. Gravity holds this joker down on this earth. A woman with special insight and a flyer. Anya tells me about flying much higher. Spinning free, enthusiastic, more athletic. Imagining that gravity's grasp is pathetic. Weightless I fly past the clouds, the moon, the planets of our solar system, and soon, courageous or crazy, faster I even fly, past a black hole most would not defy. Faster, faster, wilder, and seeking cosmic proofs, I fly to other galaxies and beyond all truth. A strong force and existing before my birth, gravity brings this joker back down to earth. 14th of July 13. When you rush around, mania is contagious, spreading faster than disease and outrageous. Experiencing your mania, I suddenly leap about this world much wilder when not asleep. Ho ho, widows, the psychiatrists laugh at me, flying high in poverty and flying happily free. 14th of July 13. I hope you enjoyed my piece about cancer and a bit of happiness at the end.